Hello, this is Andy, hobo traveler in the Philippines. I'm going to try to waddle my way through a tip. I want to show you how to make a universal electrical adapter. Let me get this thing turned down a little just so that thing doesn't look me in the eye. Okay, this is quite difficult to film these things myself. Okay, I'll bend over. This is the Andy Hobo Traveler and thing. You know, you're traveling around the world. You can't just get on Amazon.com and order a universal travel adapter with all these little toys and directions and all this stuff. You have to just make do with what you have. Well, what I have is a universal adapter. I already have one made, but I'm actually going to make another one because this one's wearing out. What happened is I just went and bought 1 meter of let's see, it says 14 gauge, but this says 1.6 millimeter. I think it's 1.6 millimeter 2C wire. It says 14.2. In American, it would be called 14.2. It's like the wire that you'd put. Well, you should put 12 gauge in the house, but you know, 14 gauge wire is a common wire in the United States for wiring up things. It's the normal big one is 12 or 10, but I just have 14 gauge. The reason why I have 14 gauge is because it bends easier. What happens is the little holes where you put the plug into, this goes like this. When you put it inside, I'll put it back together, because that's why I said I'm going to waddle my way through this. You have this little plug. This is a round one. This is what I call the world's biggest one. The slotted is, I call the American one. Then you have the British, which is one of the reasons you need this plug. Okay, it's a square thing. But this is a pretty round one. I have it on my hot water cooker here. This is the slotted. When you slide this in and out, inside these little things start to stretch. And eventually you have a loose connection. You can open this thing up and bend them back together and kind of restore the tension on the thing. This is the male part, this is the female. So you're basically getting the female part tighter again. Well, this wears out, whatever. But when you plug into a wall socket, you can't just take every socket off and tighten up the thing so that your slotted plug doesn't arc across it. I made one video about burning up things. This is the solution. What I do is I buy one of these 3 or 4 levels. I want the round and the slotted at the same time. I'm not sure you can buy them in America, but once you're in the 220 countries, you usually can buy them. So if you can find one of these plugs for about $1, and you buy the wire for about $1, you got $2 worth of materials into this thing. You need about 1 yard or 1 meter. So I buy one of these, and then I have to take this flexible wire. Solid copper wire bends, and you can make it have tension, while stranded wire doesn't bend. Okay, I mean it bends, but it bends too easy, and you can't get it to stay in place. So if I want to, I can wrap this around my arm or the leg of a chair, and it'll stay. Okay. Well, if I have it wrapped around, you know, regular threaded, which is like this is soft, I can't wrap this around the chair and keep the plug plugged in. So what we do is I plug it into the wall, I bend it into the shape, and it stays. So what I'm looking to do is to make it so that I can push these wires directly into the socket. Okay, so what I do is I pre-stripped one of the new ones, and I'm going to show you one trick that makes life a little easier when you don't have a bunch of tools. Is I just take and I start to burn this. I suppose I should put the ashtray underneath it. I just burn these wires, and you can literally burn and strip the wire pretty quick. Okay. Can you see that? I just stripped it in seconds without tools. All I use is a lighter. Trust me, there's always enough people around you smoking to get this. So let's do the other side. I'm stripping about an inch and a half. And if you don't understand electricity, kind of ignore this whole thing, because it's extremely safe. It's actually safer than plugging in a normal plug because you don't have any arcing. You're getting rid of the arc. Okay, so now I've got 2 prongs, right? Now what I want to do is I want to basically duplicate this, right? I'm trying to make one of these slotted plugs out of this. I may have stripped off too little, but I'm going to do it anyway the way it is. All I do is I have a pair of pliers. Now you just bend this over. I drank too much coffee today. Bend this over and create a little end. Now I made it too short and whatever. So now I have 2, and really this is the same almost as this. What's the big difference? One's actually made of some Chinese crap. This is actually made of solid copper wire. And if that means you understand that, then you understand what I'm doing. I made a plug and I just plug it in. I have to push it in a little different, but then I can bend it and force it to be in the plug and push against whichever side is loose. Okay, I would take this and then wire it up to this plug. That's probably it. Generally, if you know how to do that, then you can figure this one out pretty easy. Okay, this is the finished product. Okay, this is a ready to go one. I actually made it longer, right? Now, what I do is I just bend these things out so that it's, see how that's kind of a big area right here? This is wider than the slot, right? I do the other side. It's wider than the slot. When I slide it in to the hole, I can sort of figure out, I just push them in, okay? And what it does is when you're pushing it in, it gets smaller, right? Can you see it? Now it's smaller, but it's actually making pressure against the outside. Now, I've got it in there. I can still adjust it by pushing or twisting the sides until it shows a real solid connection and it don't wiggle in the plug. The problem is the plugs on walls of hotels wear out and you can't get a solid connection. Arcing back and forth is terrible for electronic equipment. So this stops this problem. Then you put it in there. I'll wrap this whole solid thing around the leg, and then a leg of a chair or something close to the thing, plug this in, and then I have 3 good connections. Now, once in a while, I'll open up this, and I will push these back together if I need to and make a tighter connection, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is get rid of any sluice. This is the female side, this is the male side. We're trying to make the female side tighter, okay? So it's like rebuilding it. When it goes in, you want it to pull. If it's wiggling around, slip, that's not good. So you don't want any wiggle in your plug. So if you're plugging in something and it's wiggling, you got a possible problem. Okay, this is what I call my universal world adapter. I'll give you one hint. There's a couple countries where, like Holland and England, where you have to have the ground plug. Normally you can use either a key or a pencil. A pencil would be best. In the British one, you just push the pencil in the ground and then push this thing at the same time, and you don't have to buy it. When you're in a country, though, you can normally buy the one adapter you need to convert it, and then, like, here's an adapter that would convert, like what I call the German one, a round one, into a square, and then I could plug in a normal plug here. But generally, what I'm trying to do is stop loose connections. If you put the plug in and it falls out, you have the problem. That's the bottom line. This solves the problem. Quite simple, actually. See how this is in there? It's not loose. It's tight. I can move and bend this wire to make it tight. Andy, Hobo Traveler in Philippines, trying to show you how to have a universal adapter for $2 that'll work in any plug, in any planet. And trust me, when you start talking about the ground here, you really don't understand. There just is no ground in most of the things, in most of the countries. You're just going to do it. Wear some tennis shoes when you're plugging things in. Don't just touch things with bare feet, wet, and all this stuff. Any country on the planet, including the United States, is just not wise. I took some duct tape and taped this together because it makes the whole device hold together tighter. You know, this is made in China stuff. Everything's becoming more and more not as good as quality as it used to be. Thank you, Andy Hobo Traveler. Hope you enjoy this. Bye. Now I can go figure out how to unplug this thing. Shut it off.